Welcome to this explainer. Look, right now, just beneath the surface of the U.S. economy, there is a literal financial time bomb ticking away. Today, we're cutting through all the noise and decoding the raw data to show you exactly how millions of everyday Americans are walking blindfolded right into a devastating financial trap. It's a reality the mainstream reports are completely glossing over. But as we're going to see, the numbers tell a very different, and honestly, a very urgent story.
$17 trillion. I mean, let that sink in for a second. This isn't just some abstract macroeconomic stat. We are looking at a looming disaster. This represents the total, massive mountain of consumer debt Americans are carrying right this second. And it's actively pulling everyday people into a system that is costing them, on average, $40,000 each.
Okay, let's dive into this. According to the latest New York Fed data, we have officially crossed a dangerous tipping point here in 2026. Credit card debt and auto loan defaults aren't just creeping up, they are surging way past historical norms. For the first time in over a decade, middle-class families aren't just struggling to put a little cash away into savings, they are officially, mathematically, running out of money entirely.
So, a massive question presents itself, right? Why is this happening right now? How on earth did the American middle class just run out of cash? Well, the traditional American dream is quickly being replaced by a permanent, inescapable cycle of debt. In this explainer, we're going to dissect the brutal reality of this 2026 crisis step by step. We want you to understand the exact mechanics of this trap so you don't become its next victim.
Section 1. Anatomy of the Trap. The $40,000 Breakdown.
To really grasp the gravity of this crisis, we're looking exclusively at everyday, high-velocity consumer debt. We're not talking about mortgages or student loans here. The average American is now lugging around nearly 10 grand in credit card debt alone. Add to that an auto loan balance that's exploded past $25,000, driven by wildly inflated car prices and steep interest rates. Then throw in another 10 grand from personal loans and those buy now, pay later schemes. Put it all together and suddenly an average household is drowning in a $40,000 hole of extremely high-interest consumer debt.
Trap. Because honestly, that is exactly what this is. But why is the specific cocktail of consumer debt so incredibly lethal compared to what previous generations dealt with? Well, the answer is pretty simple, and it destroys wealth infinitely faster than hardworking people can actually earn it.
25%. Because of compounding interest, escaping this trap is practically impossible. With average credit card APRs hovering right around 25%, Americans aren't actually paying down their principal balances anymore. They're paying hundreds of dollars every single month in interest alone, literally just to stay in debt. You aren't paying off the stuff you bought, you're just paying a massive premium to the bank to keep you on the hook.
Section 2. The Illusion. Everything is fine.
Now, what's really fascinating is the massive, almost ironic disconnect in the economy right now. On one hand, you have the mainstream narrative, right? Stable unemployment, stock markets hitting record highs. But on the flip side, we have the grim economic reality on the ground. Sure, people are still spending, which keeps the economy looking great on paper, but that spending is a total illusion. Inflation basically devoured their savings over the last few years, and when the cash finally dried up, they just switched to plastic. They are buying things today with money they're just hoping to make in the future.
Just imagine having to finance your basic survival. $80 for a standard grocery run. Today, buy now, pay later apps like Klarna or Affirm have literally turned everyday essential purchases into monthly installment plans. Think about it. When you're forced to finance an $80 grocery bill over 4 payments just to feed your family, you definitely aren't living the American dream. You're just living on borrowed time.
Section 3. The Federal Reserve Trap. Higher for longer.
So how exactly did everyday spending become this punishing? Well, to fight off that surging inflation, the Federal Reserve raised interest rates at the fastest pace in history. And now, here in 2026, they've kept them stuck right here, holding steady between 3.5 and 3.75%. The immediate fallout? Credit card companies instantly hiked their APRs, mortgage rates locked millions of people out of homeownership, and everyday car loans became entirely unaffordable. The damage to the consumer is already locked in.
In the tragic irony of the Fed's strategy is that it was designed to cool down the economy by making borrowing super expensive. But instead of slowing down massive corporate spending, it absolutely broke the everyday American consumer. And with Fed officials recently hinting they might actually raise rates again if inflation creeps back up, man, the crushing pressure on heavily indebted Americans is only going to intensify.
So with all this systemic pressure building up,
Who's crashing first? Which demographics are falling into this $40,000 hole the fastest? Let's pivot for a second and look at the frankly frightening demographic data that's driving this massive delinquency wave.
The data shows younger Americans, specifically Gen Z and millennials, are taking the biggest hit. These are people who started their careers and adult lives in a vicious, high-inflation environment. They never really had a fighting chance to build a solid financial cushion. And because of that, they're defaulting on their debts at catastrophic rates that we literally haven't seen since the 2008 financial crisis.
Get this. Credit card payments that are over 90 days late have spiked by an astounding 40% in just the last 2 years alone. Alongside that, auto loan repossessions are absolutely surging across the country. The entire system is buckling under the immense weight of all this consumer debt.
Crash. That is exactly what is happening to the credit scores of young consumers across the nation right now. Their financial reputations are actively being destroyed. And, a ruined credit score isn't just a bad number. It actively locks you out of the financial system. It locks you out of housing markets and fair borrowing rates for years to come. It practically guarantees you will pay more for absolutely everything.
Section 4. Escaping the trap, breaking the cycle.
Yes, the $40,000 trap is incredibly real, and the entire modern financial system is precisely designed to keep you swiping, subscribing, and financing your life away. But listen, you don't have to stay in it. You can aggressively break this cycle today. So here's the game plan. Step 1. Aggressively audit your expenses. You need to know exactly where every single dollar is going. Step 2. Cut out those buy now, pay later traps immediately. They are a totally deceptive slippery slope disguised as convenience. And Step 3. Prioritize paying off your highest interest debt first to just stop the bleeding. The next few years are going to draw a hard line, separating those who control their money from those who are controlled by it.
Which brings us to our final provocative thought for this explainer. The economy is throwing unprecedented systemic challenges at everyday people right now, and mastering your own wealth has literally never been more vital. So what about you? How are you dealing with inflation and debt in 2026? Take a moment to reflect on your own finances, audit your strategy, and make the conscious choice to be the one in control. Thanks so much for joining me today. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next one.